The house was worth 300. They borrowed 200. A couple years later, the house appraised at 600. They borrowed 200 more. And the house kept appreciating, and they kept borrowing more and borrowing more and more. And then eventually, they didn't qualify at a bank to borrow more. And it appraised for 2.3 million, and the borrowers are looking for 1.9 million and have all kinds of debt. Within 7 days, I want to see a statement or a screenshot of your Visa account that shows a zero balance. If you default on another mortgage, it's a default for us too. Within 90 days, I need you to show me pictures of the finished basement and evidence you paid the bill. Today, I'm going to talk about the mortgage commitment, or the mortgage agreement as it's sometimes referred to, and what clauses in it, or what do we have to put in it and be mindful of in order to make sure that we have the most leverage through the agreement. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay. So without boiling the ocean on this, because our mortgage commitment is extremely long and it covers a lot and it's extensive. Now, not all private mortgage lenders use a commitment like ours. Some I've seen 1 page, some 2 or 3 pages, but there are 4 essential questions that I want to answer when I'm putting together a mortgage agreement. If I had to start from scratch, just based on experience, no legal help, no nothing. If I was just putting an agreement between you and I together, I would consider 4 questions. First, what do I have to do? Or sorry, what do you have to do before I give you the money? Okay, so you're going to come to me, you're going to ask for a certain amount of money. We're going to talk about terms, we're going to talk about conditions, we're going to talk about all that. But what do I need you to do before I give you the money? We'll dive into that. And then what do you need to do while you have the money? So what things do you need to be accountable to throughout the time that you have the money? Because until you pay me back, the asset, the house, is what protects me. And the investment, even if it's paying 10, 11, 12, 15% interest and you're getting interest every month, the investment itself is not a success until you give me the money back. So while you have the money, there has to be some accountability to keeping certain things in line. And I'll dive into that. And then what if you need more time than we agreed on? So this is a very, very important piece. If you go into a private loan thinking we said it was 12 months, it's not going to be 12 months in a day or 12 months in a week or 13 or 14 or 15 months. I would say by experience, that's naive. There are going to be times where they pay you back early, but there are going to be times where they need more time. So what do we do then? And then last but not least, what are you not allowed to do while you have the money? So we have to have these things in place. And how many loans have you done?
Oh, I'd say between, 15, 20.
Okay. And so that's a lot. Like if you've done 15 to 20 loans, you've got some experience. Now, if you had to build an agreement now to lend someone money, do you think you'd miss things, or do you think you now know after 15 to 20 exactly what to do to protect yourself?
After being on calls with 2 members of your legal team, I'd say I'm definitely going to miss a ton of stuff, even after 20 deals.
Yeah, even after 20 deals. And I've done, hundreds and hundreds of deals, maybe more than 1,000. I don't know. We've done a lot. And still, every year, we review the mortgage commitment, review the mortgage agreement to make sure anything we've learned. Remember, it's not like it's cat and mouse, but it's, there's always loopholes that come up or things you see and you go, wow, I never even thought of that. And how can I protect myself in the future against that potentially happening again? Even if you look at what happened and you think that's 1 in a million, but it happened. So 4 questions. What do you have to do before I give you the money? What do you need to do while you have the money? What happens if you need more time? And what happens if you don't do what you're supposed to do, or what are you not allowed to do? Okay. So let's look at the first one first. So what do you have to do before I give you the money? So, the typical process here is that a borrower applies for a loan. And when they apply, they give you a set of information on paper. They tell you about themselves. They tell you about their personal their personal information, their birth date, their social insurance number, where they live, that kind of thing. They also tell you their liabilities or give you a picture of their liabilities, give you a picture of their assets. They tell you what properties they own. You get to look at kind of all of it. Now, we make our decisions conditionally based on that information. So, in a lot of cases, to be efficient, right? When most of the time we're getting our applications from brokers. Brokers are not just sending them to us, and you have to remember you're always in a competitive situation, or assume you're always in a competitive situation. So you're trying to find loans that you want to fund, but you don't want to stall the process by forcing the borrower to provide conditions and proof of everything that they're putting in their application until they get something from you, like pricing, a quote, right? Something that is makes them interested in having you as their lender. So once that once we see the application, we are going to provide pricing, but then we're also going to provide a list of conditions, things you have to provide to support what it is you're claiming on your application. And if you've ever had a mortgage, even with a bank, you would have seen this process play out. You would have had to do the same thing, provide a job letter, a pay stub, an appraisal for the property, these types of things. But at first, what we get is my property's worth $900,000. I make $100,000 a year. My wife makes $100,000 a year, and so on and so forth. And so there's a list of things we need to condition for, and we build those into the mortgage agreement. In our case, we do it in sections. So one section might be income and employment. Okay. And these are the conditions. If you are a salaried employee, then you provide a pay stub and a job letter. If you are self employed, then it can be a number of things. It can be statements from your bank to show that the income you say you're earning is actually going into your bank. And then somebody will say, well, my business is mostly cash. Well, what do I do then? Okay, well, at the very least, I want to see that you have filed your income taxes, and that will show us what you claimed you earned with the government, knowing full well that you may not claim everything that you make, and you may be making some money on the side or whatnot. But at least we know you're filing, the CRA isn't chasing you, and so on and so forth. So it's a list of things that we have to find out. A property tax statement, for example, or if you are wanting to finance a condo, then we need a status certificate from the condo corporation to show that the condo corporation is in good standing, and so on and so forth. Okay, so it ranges from you know it ranges from job letter and pay stub right up to notice of assessment from the government or your T1 generals or anything like that. And in our case, I like to think of us as being very creative and progressive. So we understand that people make money in different ways today than they did 30 years ago, a myriad. We have a more of a transient workforce than we did before. When my father's growing up, almost everybody, I knew exactly all my friends' fathers where they worked because they worked there for
Yeah.
30 or 40 years. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't work that way anymore. So in order to be competitive, we also need to have a certain amount of creativity. So we want to believe what we're being told is true. Can we find a way to condition for it? Okay, for evidence, solid evidence that would support what we're saying. Think about this too. We have people coming from different countries, right? Or living in different countries. And it's all possible today. So you're a Canadian citizen, but you're living abroad and you're working for a company abroad. Maybe we can't get your credit report from Canada, or the Canadian credit you're not really using, but you have credit somewhere else. So there's all kinds of different things that we may ask for. And this is very important. So if you're building a mortgage commitment, you want to build it with these types of things in mind. A base level of standard conditions is what we use. And then we have a section in our commitment or proposals called specific conditions. And specific conditions get added into the mortgage agreement. So we have our base mortgage agreement that has our standard conditions. No matter who you are, no matter what your situation is, you must provide these things, standard. Then we have set of specific conditions that fit with each case on a case by case basis. Make sense?
Yep. Makes sense. I never thought
Okay.
about the balance between requesting more information and data and stalling the deal and frustrating the applicant.
Yeah, there's a that's a great it's a great point. I mean, you have to always be mindful that you are in a competitive situation, especially for ones that you want. I mean, and I mean, now's a perfect time to talk about this because as we were talking off screen before, we're in a market right now where it's difficult to find mortgages you can believe in to fund. It's not so much competing with other lenders; it's just, you know, a lot of people asking for the very maximum that they can get. A lot of people are over leveraged or overutilized. You know, we're coming out of an era where you can see clear patterns that I saw one the other day. Such a great example. I won't get the numbers exactly right, but the idea you'll understand is a house that was purchased for $300,000 in 2002 and it appraised for 2.3 million today, and the borrowers are looking for 1.9 million and have all kinds of debt. So when you think about that, you think they bought the house for 300,000. So how did they get to needing 1.8, 1.9? Well, here's what happened. The house was worth 300, they borrowed 200. Next year, or a couple years later, the house appraised at 600, they borrowed 200 more, and so on and so forth. And the house kept appreciating and they kept borrowing more and borrowing more and more. And then eventually they didn't qualify at a bank to borrow more, but they had equity, right? The house kept appreciating. And so they started getting into private loans. So you get into private and your ratios expand, and the lenders will typically lend you more as long as the loan to value ratio stays relatively low. And so now all of a sudden you're 25 years into owning this property, and in a
Mm.
traditional sense, you should own it now,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
25 years,
Should.
and you owe six times what it was worth when you bought it.
Oh my god. You mentioned the ratios expand. Is that
Mhm.
like debt to income ratios as well? Because I imagine the income didn't, almost 10x.
Yeah. So I mean, there are mechanisms that a private lender will use that the bank will not consider, right? So, you know, if, for example, somebody needed to access 60 or 65% of the equity in their home, and you looked at it and you went, well, the mortgage payment is more than this person earns in a month. Then we can use an interest reserve to offset it, provided that we have an exit strategy that makes sense. So if somebody were to come to you and say, listen, I get it. I'm over my head here. I'm not gonna be able to pay down what I owe, but I'm gonna sell the property. I don't want to sell it under duress. So I just need a year of runway. Can you build the payments in for a year, and I'll sell the property and then I'll take my equity and I'll walk away. So a situation like that, you could you could you could see a private lender doing that deal. We would do something like that. Makes sense under the right circumstances. Okay. Okay. So that's what you have to do before I give you the money. Then what do you need to do while you have the money? And this one, without explanation, people are like, what do you mean? What do I got to do? I got the money. That's all I need to do. Well, it's not all you need to do. You need to make sure that the home insurance stays current and active so that there's insurance in case of fire or something like that. Now it becomes, how do I make sure that you are protecting the asset that's protecting me? Remember, you're living in the house, right? You are babysitting the asset that is my security. So we call them ongoing conditions. What is it that you need to do? So the basic ones, again, standard, specific. And if everybody walks away from this video thinking, okay, standard, specific conditions, it can really guide you um, to understand. So a standard condition ongoing would be you got to keep paying your property taxes, okay, or you got to keep your home insurance in good standing. Another good one, people miss this a lot, especially amateur lenders or inexperienced lenders. One default means default for me too. So if you default on another mortgage, it's a default for us too. Okay, so cross default. Yeah. So you must keep your other debts in good standing. That's that's a condition ongoing. Okay, so we don't want to get punched in the face by not knowing, so we can check. We give ourselves in the agreement, it says we have the right to check or ask of you to provide evidence, provide an updated credit report.
All mortgage related debts only, or are you talking about like everything like car payments, whatever?
Well, this is a good segue from standard conditions into specific conditions. So here's a mechanism we use that'll kind of paint the picture and answer your question. Let's say somebody comes to us and they say, um, we say, I want to see your notice of assessment for income taxes for 2025 or 2024, right? So you would have filed your 2024 income taxes last year. And they go, I didn't file. A lot of lenders will go, it's a deal killer. I'm going to say no. We don't do that. So what we'll do is we'll say, okay, well, do you have your 2023? And they go, yeah. So then the most important thing about the notice of assessment is we're looking to see whether you owe any taxes to the government. So let's say you show us the 2023. It says, yeah, you made $100,000, but you paid all your taxes. You don't owe anything to the government. Then it's reasonable for me to assume, if I can check that you're still in the same job, still earning the same money, that even if you didn't pay your taxes in 2024, and that's the real reason you didn't file, you're not just lazy, right? Then the damage wouldn't be so bad that it threatens my security. Okay. Because remember, the CRA can take super priority over a mortgage, meaning it can get in front of us. So I have to be concerned if you owe money to the government. Okay. So now I'm going to set a condition that says, I really like this deal and I don't want to kill it just because you haven't filed your taxes. So I'm going to put a condition in the mortgage that says you must provide evidence that you have filed your taxes within 30 days of the date I give you the money. And then within 90 days, you must show me the notice of assessment. So if you don't show evidence that you filed within 30 days, you're in default before the first payment is due, which I feel pretty comfortable about. And then if you file, that's great. Then if you don't show me your notice of assessment within 90 days, then you're also in default. So it allows me to be in default before a problem really gets
Yeah, you're getting ahead of
deep.
it. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. So condition ongoing. So you have standard and specific, things like that. And that little mechanism there with the notice of assessment can really allow you to get a mortgage done that maybe some others would quit on. And really it's probably a good loan. We've done that a number of times, never had a problem with it. And it's sometimes just people, like especially self-employed people, they just get lazy, forget to file, or just don't file and file every second year. And the mentality a lot of times is, I don't owe any money, so it's not so important that I file. And then all of a sudden they need money and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't
Yeah,
file.
yeah. It's such an interesting
Kind of thing.
workaround because you end up getting to the same, kind of, you end up painting the same picture that you would have had if you had the 2024 notice of assessment. But no, it's interesting how you work around to getting to it.
Well, here's another one. What are you going to do with the money? Well, I'm going to finish my basement. Oh, how long is that going to take? Well, it's going to take 90 days. Well, okay. Condition precedent, meaning before I give you the money, I'd like you to show me a quote from the contractor. I want to know how much it's going to cost, and I want to know a detail of what you're actually doing in the basement. I go, oh, okay. So they go out and they get a quote, and they bring it back, and they show you what they're doing, and they go, okay, now I'm going to put a condition a condition ongoing in the agreement that says within 90 days, says he's going to take 8 weeks to do it. Okay. Within 90 days, I need you to show me pictures of the finished basement and evidence you paid the bill. Here's another one. I want to consolidate my debts. And so the knee jerk a lot of times for lenders is, okay, well, we're going to pay off all those debts and close them. Right? So we're going to have the lawyer send a check to the credit card company, and then we're going to tell the credit card company to shut off that card. To me, it's a mistake because you need that credit to build credit. So instead, what we'll say is, we're going to give you the money, Nick, and it says here you're going to pay $16,433 to your Visa. So within 7 days of the advance, I want to see a statement or a screenshot of your Visa account that shows a zero balance.
I see. I
Now,
always
it
wondered
doesn't.
about this. I always wondered about this. Why don't private lenders, why do the funds flow through the borrower at all? Why don't the private lenders just send them where the money, like to pay down all these bills or debts or contractors or whatever the money's supposed to be used for?
You can. You can, but you you also need the borrower to be accountable to their exit plan. And why I love giving specific instructions and conditions to the borrower instead of hand holding like that is because if they don't, you find out quick, right? Like it's a tether. Like if I
Finger on the
say to
pulse.
you, yeah, if you come to me and you say, Chris, I need 50 grand. And I go, okay, what's it for? And you go, I got a plan. I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this, then that, and then this, and then my credit's going to improve. And then within 12 months, I'm going to go to this broker, and this broker is going to take me to that bank, and that bank's going to give me a mortgage, and I'm going to pay you back. I go, love it. But the whole plan is dependent on you doing A, B, C, D, E, right? So now I'm going to lay out the plan. And I'm going to say to you or your broker, how long is it going to take to do A? And you're going to go, oh, it's going to do this. How long is it going to take to do B? Okay. And then C and then D. And then I'll add a little bit of time to each one of those and say, okay, I need you to check in with me at the end of each step.
The plan's not viable until you put your guardrails around it.
Yeah. Because if you do the things you said that you were going to do, then we probably are successful in doing the thing I need you to do, which is exit. Right. It's a funny thing about private lending is that your core customer really is the borrower and you're trying to get rid of them from day one. That's the goal, right? so so you have conditions precedent before I give you the money and conditions ongoing. We build these into the mortgage. And if you have that lens and now you were to, if I gave you you've seen our mortgage commitment because you've done 15 to 20 loans, but you probably gloss over a lot of what's in the mortgage commitment itself. But if I gave you this context, this lens to look through, and then give you the commitment, the next time you do a loan, you'll look at the commitment differently. You'll see different things. You'll see a lot of different things. Okay, now what if you need more time? So our mortgages are all 12 months. Um, when you get close to 12 months, and I'd say 8 or 9 months in, is when we want to start having the conversation about, hey, so how's it going? Like, how's it going? Like the final step, the exit, how's that plan shaping up? And it's important to think about the ifs, ands, and buts ahead of time. So in your mortgage agreement, you want to have some parameters set out as to what happens when. Now, some mortgage lenders will put their renewal clause right into the agreement. Everyone is the same. We don't. And the reason we don't is because we have multiple options to maintain flexibility for different scenarios. And we don't want to pigeonhole the borrower or ourselves into one. But what we do have in the agreement is what happens if you do nothing.
I see. There's a default month 12 event.
Yeah. So we're saying uh, you can apply for an extension 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, or you can apply for a renewal, which is 12 months, another 12 months. But if you do nothing, then what happens is there's only one option left. And the way we structure it is we go, you have to decide which option you're applying for within 30 days, like before the 30th day before maturity. So you have to make a decision. And if you don't make a decision and it's now 29 days to maturity, all those options disappear. There's only one option left. I believe it's section 10 in our mortgage agreement, and it says you have the option now to extend the loan for 1 month. your option. Or you can just go into default at maturity. And you can extend for 1 month up to 3 times without approval, with no new appraisal, with nothing, no conditions. You can do this, but it's expensive. So it's the most expensive option.
Yeah, you're
Not-
really
uh,
corralling incentives towards the end there.
yeah. If you do it that way, you would be paying fees. It would be how much annual? 1.2% per month. So you're looking at like 14, 15% in fees, not interest, fees. If you did that 12 times for a whole year. Whereas applying for a renewal for 3 years costs the same amount as it did in year one, which is 3%.
The 1 month extension, can they do it multiple times?
No, the 1 month extension is very guardrailed. So the 1 month extension, you can only apply for it if you have evidence of either a sale closing in that month or a refinance with another lender already arranged where the advance date is in that month. So you must provide evidence to us to qualify for the 1 month extension. You must provide evidence that you are going to exit in that extension period. And once you enter that extension period, there's no further extensions. The 3 month extension is the most flexible. It's for the person who really is trying hard to exit and they're close, but they haven't finalized anything yet. They can buy 3 months without a new appraisal, and with very few conditions. It's just a short extension. But once you choose that, again, no further extensions. There are exceptions to every rule, but for the most part, no further extensions. A 6 month extension comes with a brand new appraisal, must get a new appraisal so we can check the new value. 6 months is a long time. And the 12-month renewal comes with a new appraisal as well and a whole set of new conditions. So each one is a little is flexible, but each one is different. Now, a 1 month extension only costs 40% of 1%. It's very cheap. A 3 month extension only costs 1%. Again, quite cheap. So there are some advantages, but the idea is you must pay for more time, and the incentive is always gearing you towards exiting. Why? Because even though investors love the returns they make in a private loan, I mean, the lowest private loan out there is like 6.5%. And for us, the highest is 11. So somewhere in there, you're in good shape wherever you are in there from an investor's perspective. But we can't lose sight that the investment isn't a success until you get your principal back.
No, for sure. Yield is great, but getting the money back is
Yeah, I
everything.
mean, if you get 10% for 9 years and you don't get your principal back, you lose 10%. Right? Like the investment's a loss. So, okay. And last but not least, what are you not allowed to do? So, in the commitments, the easiest piece is the events of default. And I want to say in our commitment, there's 21 or 22 events of default. There's a lot of little things you can do, but really the most popular or the most common are missed payments or missing maturity, like not paying the loan back on time and not extending or running out of time, essentially. Uh, and in the mortgage commitment, you just want to make sure you list these events of default clearly so that there's no I didn't know or no vaguity. Is that the name? Is that the word? No vagueness.
Vagueness, yeah.
Yeah. As little gray as possible. We want to make sure that things are clear, not just for us, for the borrower too. You want the borrower to have clarity. You want them to have good representation with their broker, good representation with their lawyer. Things are explained. The language in the commitment is clear, and it's at an easy reading level, so anybody can understand it. It's all the same font size. These types of things are important too. But ultimately, that last thing is, what are you not allowed to do?
I thought it was as simple as, don't miss the payments, give me my money back, but 24 different events of defaults gets really granular.
Yeah, for example, you could put into your mortgage commitment that you do not permit the borrower to put financing behind you. And if you find out that they do, it's an event of default. Um, if your home insurance lapses, it's an event of default. If you don't pay your property taxes, it's an event of default. So you can see how they can pile up. There's a lot of things. If you don't meet the ongoing conditions, it's an event of default. So lots, or if you don't take care of the asset, if something goes wrong and you don't repair it, event of default. It allows for us to step in and take care of the asset and protect our money before it gets, too far gone.
Yeah, that's the key to all this. It's just protection. You don't want these exterior entities to swoop in and mess with your security.
Yeah, I mean, listen, at the beginning when you get an application, what you're trying to ask yourself is, in the worst case scenario, if I get everything wrong, will the collateral, the asset, protect me? Can I sell it for enough to get my money back? So then the agreement needs to be written well enough to protect the asset or give you ways to protect the asset once you've given the money. Because remember, at the beginning, you're trying to make that evaluation, but you haven't put any money into the deal yet. Once you've put the money in, then it becomes important what's in the agreement to hold the borrower accountable to the agreement and doing the right things, taking care of the asset, paying on time, doing those things until they pay you back. And that's how we put a solid agreement together. Now you're going to get whatever agreement you put together. And today we have tools like ChatGPT who could probably write you a mortgage commitment, and you can do that. But it's so important to get eyes on it in your jurisdiction from a lawyer who knows the laws of the land and what works and what doesn't, what's enforceable and what's not, these types of things. So really important that you could do this yourself. You could write a mortgage commitment, and now they have some context about what to think about. You could do it, but obviously, I would never enter into a mortgage agreement that wasn't endorsed by a lawyer.
No, they view it through a completely different lens. Like they hit on, you know, speaking with your legal team, they hit on certain points, and it was like 10 different ways to phrase it. And they, of those 10 different ways, some ways are highly preferred, compared to other types of wording. And it's just, yeah, it's
Well, they
very
also they
important.
also have the context to know what a judge has said
Oh, yeah,
about a
precedent.
certain thing in the past, right? They have case law.
Yeah,
So,
good. Well, this is
all right,
very thorough.
all right. Well, I'm glad. I hope somebody gets something from it. And until then, happy lending.
Happy lending.